What is up, YouTube fam? I hope you guys are feeling well. I hope you're feeling good. How are you all doing? My name is Baby. I'm an artist. I love to document my process and share art inspiration videos and tutorials. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're not, welcome back. If you guys are not subscribed, I would truly appreciate if you would hit that subscribe button. It really does support the work that I do. And for those who are subscribed, shout out to you. You don't know how much it makes me happy every time I see that little number go up, or every time I get a little notification saying somebody subscribed. Thank you so very much. It really does make my day. You have no idea. As you could probably guess, today I have another art tutorial video for this piece right here. Usually I love to hold my pieces and give you guys kind of an up-close look, but I just painted this yesterday and it needs a couple of days to fully cure so that it does not dull the finish, and so we're just gonna keep it on the wall. But yes, this is Reflections number 4. It is the 4th in a collection of futuristic pieces that I am currently working on. And this is my interpretation of art in a dystopian modern world. So if you're interested in kind of like the intricacies of my thoughts, my imaginations when I create those pieces, definitely head on over to my website. I always leave kind of a little blurb, kind of a story about each piece, and so definitely check that out. Anyway, I know a lot of you here for the process for the tutorial, so if you're interested in seeing how I was able to create this piece, let's get into it. To start off, I am cutting off a piece of wire mesh for the artwork. As I always like to remind you, when you're working with wire mesh, remember to wear gloves because it is quite sharp. Don't be like me. Next, I am figuring out the shape of the sculpture. These days, I find that I tend to enjoy stapling one end of the wire mesh to the canvas and starting to figure out what the shape would be from there. At least that way I have a foundation to work with. At this point, I more or less have a direction and a basic frame or shape in mind. And so I am just stapling along the sides that I've decided can be stapled. Slowly, I am working with the wire mesh, trying to mold it so it can conform to what I have in mind. At this point, the shape is pretty much coming to life. What I am doing here is what I think of as a soft mold before I start to really bend and press the wire mesh into the shape that I want. I'm trying to make sure I do sort of a mental mapping to make sure it works out. Now I am pressing it into the shape that I want. Once my form is outlined, the next step for me is to go in with my hot glue gun and begin to press that shape into the canvas so that it can begin to stick and we can start to move forward. I do not like to rush this part of the process at all because it is the foundation of the piece and I have to make sure that I absolutely love it before I can move forward. So there's a lot of pausing, there's a lot of assessing and reassessing that's happening. With the shape pretty much set in stone, I am sealing off the edges by just stapling them to the canvas in a way that complements the shape. Next, it's time to start applying the plaster bandages to the frame that we've molded. I've mentioned in the past that it is a lot faster if you kind of just dip in the plaster bandages in water and layer it over the wire mesh. However, because I'm filming and doing that is pretty messy, I try to counteract that by just dipping in the brush in water and using that to smooth the plaster bandage over the wire mesh. On the flip side, working in this way where I am using the brush to smooth the plaster bandages allows me to work with a really wide layer of plaster bandages as opposed to dipping in water. If you try to dip in a wide layer of plaster bandage in water, you might experience what I think of as the roll-up, and it might be a little tricky for you to get it to lay flat on the wire mesh without bunching. Because the bandages are coated in plaster, once you dip them in water, they do have a tendency to stick together, which is exactly what I mean by the roll-up. While a lot of my tutorials are sped up, it's really important to emphasize that being a sculpture artist is something that takes a lot of time. All of these pieces take weeks, sometimes more than a month to complete. And so if you're looking to dabble, you just need to understand that this is a process that requires patience and effort. Once your frame is completely covered in plaster bandages, it is time to start layering your plaster or plaster mixture. I really love this part of the work because you can truly begin to see the piece coming alive. I mean, it already helps that the plaster bandage defines the shape for you, but then starting to actually layer it is something that I truly love. Try to spread your plaster mixture as evenly as possible, as this will save you a lot of headache and time when it comes to sanding. If you're interested in what my plaster mixture recipe is, I do have a short tutorial video about my plaster mixture up as well, so you should definitely check that out. After completely working on the front of the piece and putting about 4 layers of plaster, I am now working on the back, also allowing it to dry a couple of days in between so that the front can actually hold the weight without bending. I am now working on the back of the piece so that it can catch up with the front, covering it in plaster bandages and layering with plaster. After the piece has been completely coated in plaster, I give it about a day or two to fully dry, sometimes more depending on how thick the mixture is, and then it is time to sand. I've also mentioned that the reason why I give it at least a minimum of 4 coats before sanding is because you always have or risk the possibility of sanding down to the plaster bandages, and you do not want that. As a reminder, when you're sanding, it's really necessary that you wear a respirator mask. Also do this in a well-ventilated area, and if you're not able to do so, as I am not able to do in this video, it's really helpful to have air purifiers. It's really crucial to understand the health risks of being a sculpture artist and working with a lot of dust and dust particles. Don't forget about your skin as well. Wear gloves if you can. I like to treat myself to a manicure after my sanding days. Here I am working on the back of the sculpture. I am using my palette knife to pack on the plaster mixture and sort of create a smoother surface or layer for the back of the artwork. Since this can get pretty messy, I like to use a parchment paper or sometimes foil to protect the actual canvas so I'm not having cakes or plaster caking over the canvas. My technique here is just using the palette knife to pack on the plaster and then going in with my brush to smoothen that plaster. And it's really helpful in this instance that you wet your brush and just go in with a wet brush. Sometimes I also find that it's helpful to wait a little bit for the plaster to start to get a bit tacky so that it doesn't move around too much when you go in with a wet brush. Next, I am sanding the edges, given that I worked on the front and the back end separately, and just making sure that where the meat appears seamless. Next, I am measuring the back of the piece so that I can begin to attach hanging wires and hooks. These days I like to do this towards the end or towards the completion of the artwork, since having the hanging wire pretty early on can affect the way it balances on my spinning wheel. If there's any part that I actually do wear gloves for, it is this part. I like to wear the special glove that has a grip, and it allows me to be able to pull the wire pretty taut. I don't do anything too special here. I pretty much just loop the wire around itself to reinforce its strength, and then I use a needle nose plier to sort of press in the edges so no one is hurt in the handling of the piece. As a reminder, if you're interested in any of these materials, I will leave a link in the description under my Amazon favorite for 3D art. This is pretty much the final sanding of these artwork. When it comes to 3D art, there is a lot of sanding involved. I cannot overemphasize that. You have to keep sanding until you're happy with the texture that you have, and sometimes this takes hours, sometimes this takes days. When I am done sanding and prior to priming the piece of art for painting, one thing I like to do is go in with a tack cloth and run it over the entire piece over and over again. And what this does is that it ensures that every particle of dust is removed from the piece of art and allows the primer to be able to stick and subsequent layers of paint. Next, I am going in with my favorite primer, which is the Sticks primer. I really love this because it's affordable, it's really thick, it adheres to pretty much any surface, and it dries quickly. If you do not plan to paint, you can probably skip this step and go straight to varnishing or sealing the piece. Next, I am coating the entire piece with a basic black acrylic paint because the chrome paint that I prefer to use works really great on dark surfaces. But you can probably also skip this if you don't have any dark paint available. It's not much of a noticeable difference, if I'm being completely honest. I just like to do the best that I can, I guess. To my favorite part, which is finally going in with the Mirachrome paint, applying this in layers over the artwork. There is something so therapeutic about seeing the final layer come to life. Let me know if you can feel that art therapy as well. I wanted to be able to give you guys some close-up shots of this piece coming together, and I hope that you can feel that art therapy that I mentioned earlier. With this paint, I find that 2 to 3 layers really gives me that desired mirrored effect. You can begin to see my reflection even as I am painting. This is the final look, and I'm obsessed. I am completely obsessed. Yep, so that was all of it. I hope that the tutorial was helpful for you. I hope that at the very minimum you enjoyed watching my process. I try to be as real as I can about this processes, and I am absolutely in love with this piece. It's so beautiful. It takes my breath away. I keep staring at it and I keep catching myself staring at it, and I love the simplicity of it, and just the little sculptural elements of it. I love that it goes perfectly well with my current interior design craze, and I am looking for different ways to style these pieces. And if you want to see what it looks like or more pictures that I develop in different ways that I style this piece, you should definitely head on over to my social media. Make sure to follow me on Instagram or TikTok. I will be sharing more there as well. I honestly have taken like 300 to 500 photos this morning just staring at it. I'm currently obsessed with chrome, if you can't already tell, and just being able to make pieces that look so metallic, and working with the materials that I am working with. The paints that I work with is not your typical paint. I am learning so much from it, and I'm really inspired by it. I hope you guys continue to love to see more from this series that I will continue to create. I also have another collection in the works, which is my Brutalist collection, which is also hand sculpted with plaster but painted with coffee, so that's something completely different. If you're not already subscribed and this sounds good to you, why don't you just hit that subscribe button right now? Help a girl out, please. If you're interested, this piece is already available on my website or my Etsy store, whichever site is most convenient for you to shop. I would appreciate if you're able to collect my pieces, or if you're in love and you're a collector, let's connect. I also really want to thank you all for the support on my last couple of videos. I've gotten some questions, some comments. I always love to hear from you guys. So do not hesitate to leave me a note in the comment section. Don't hesitate to ask any questions if you have any questions. I love to engage with you. I love to get to know you guys. I love to know that this is inspiring you, or you're just enjoying the process, or you're just enjoying the videos. Whatever those videos do for you, let's engage in the comment sections. I'm looking to hear from you guys, and I hope that we continue to grow as a family. And with all of that said, I will see you all in my next video, and take care. Bye.